May I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Cheryl, call the roll, please.
Joe Burden.
Here.
Dennis Gagnon. Peter Lewis.
Here.
Laura O'Connell. Here. Bob Lusardi.
Here.
Heidi Wendell. Here. Neil Zuckerman.
Here. Okay, well, we clearly have a quorum, and so let me just welcome everyone to the first meeting of 2026. May it be less frigid in the future than it has been, and may you have good plowing and heat and electricity that remains for this long and scary weekend that we're about to go into. Certainly, I measure the depth of the winter by the number of plows I've had, and I think I'm past my fingers and up to my toes at this point, so may it slow down. I do want to just make a note. This is, as you may have noticed in our last meeting, we said farewell after 2 decades to our talented legal advisor, and Steve was very meaningful to me individually and to this board collectively with his counsel, his clarity, and conviction of what is right. And so we are very fortunate that his own firm is also continuing to represent us. Dominic Cordisco is a partner at that firm where he practices land use and environmental law. He's done a variety of things in the region, including counselor for Legoland, but he also, not surprisingly, supports several other planning boards, and so we're thrilled to have his expertise. I'll read this award he won in 2013, the Henry Award for Valley Visionaries from the Hudson Valley Pattern for Progress. Lots of alliteration, which I enjoy, and a deserving sounding award. Not surprising with a man whose last part of his name is Disco. He has a variety of media activities he does. He takes photographs, makes music and movies, has won awards like Best Original Score at several film festivals, and awards for his photography. I can tell you, as someone who collects photography, they are lovely. We do hope that, however, he's not distracted by his talents in media, because we need his skill to replace Mr. Gaba. And so we're thrilled to have him here. We wish you the best in your service. This is an ornery group, not just from this board, but below. The members of the public can be quite rowdy here, and we need your legal advice to support them and us as we try to keep decorum. So thank you very much, Dominic. Anything you want to say?
I started at Drake Loeb in 2003, and one of the first things that Steve Gaba did was have me represent the town of Cornwall Planning Board. We've been representing Cornwall since that time, and he guided me through that process. He is an excellent municipal attorney, and I've learned quite a great deal from him, and I look forward to being able to provide the best advice that I can for the board.
Well, you've got a talented partner to your right in Ron Gaynor, and he and Steve had a very successful and friendly partnership, and we expect the continuation of that, so thank you. With that, the most administrivia of all may have been a motion to approve the minutes from December 2025. Thank you, Peter. Second. Thank you, Laura. Any comments, questions, deletions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstention, minutes passed. Thank you very much. Hearing no correspondence or referrals, we have a public hearing for the Humm property at 230 Jaycox. We'll invite Cheryl to read the public notice. We'll ask, Jason, is that yours? No, neither. Oh, you can excuse my expectation that is typically the folks at Beatty and Watson who lead things, so my apologies. You'll come up, you'll give a little spiel about the project, and then we'll invite the members of the public to speak. I'll ask board members any questions, then we'll decide whether we close the hearing. So Cheryl, please.
The Planning Board of the Town of Philipstown, New York will hold a public hearing on Thursday, January 22nd, 2026, starting at 7:30 p.m. at the Philipstown Town Hall, 238 Main Street, Cold Spring, New York, 10516, to consider the following application. Humm, 230 Jaycox Road, Cold Spring, New York, 10516, tax map number 27.19-1-22, project minor site plan. Applicant is seeking approval for demolition of existing single-family dwelling and construction of a new single-family dwelling. Dated at Philipstown, New York, this 18th day of December, 2025. Neil Zuckerman, Chair.
Floor is yours, sir.
So while Jane's setting up here, James Hartford from River Architects, and I'm just glad to be here tonight. Grew up in Cornwall, so I know your past clients well. So we're River Architects. We're based here in Cold Spring, and we've got this project where we're replacing an existing home that was built through the 80s and 90s, was added on to. We tried actually to work with the existing structure to renovate it, but we found that the complexity of all those different additions didn't really add up to something really worth saving. So we've worked largely with the same building footprint with a modest expansion to that. So it's a single-family home. It will be a certified passive house, so a building that uses no fossil fuels and is incredibly energy efficient and resilient. The house, again, is on Jaycox Road. It is a flag lot, and I don't remember specifics like the acreage and things, so I'm going to lean on Jane for some of that.
Yep, it's a flag lot, and there's 50-foot setbacks all around because of that. So here we have the site survey from Beatty and Watson, and here's the existing site plan and the new site plan. So the house is largely in the same place as James mentioned. There's a couple of areas of expansion. The roof geometries are actually largely staying the same. The existing tennis court's going to remain, the koi pond's going to remain, there's a pool, and we're just reducing a bit of the hardscaping around there and removing the pool house. There's an existing shed that's to remain. There's going to be a new septic tank. Otherwise, the house is largely like remaining in the same footprint in geometry and in planimetrically. So we're looking forward to your questions. The exterior finishes are going to be vertical wood siding, and there's a standing seam metal roof. I don't know what else to add
natural
to that.
wood siding, there isn't much more to say.
In terms of landscape, we're having to remove 9 trees due to the new septic, but the owners are hoping to plant new evergreens to make sure that, privacy remains between neighbors, and there's 1 tree being removed that's not due to the septic because it's really close to the house and it's quite big. So, oh, sorry about that.
You're done anyway.
Yep, that's it.
Okay. How many members of the public, just raise your hand if you want to speak, please. Just one. Okay, come on up, sir. No, please come up, grab the mic, say your name, and go from there.
Bill Durr, I'm on 222, I'm right in front of it. I was just curious, is there any blasting involved with this demolition and stuff? No, but that was great. Yeah.
Okay. Please come up, please. Anyone else? 2, okay, 3, okay, okay.
Hello.
Just your name, please.
It's Ann Provan. I'm at 200 Jaycox Road.
Cool, thank you.
Okay.
No, do you want to say something?
Yeah. Well, we just noticed that in the map that there's a fence which doesn't conform to the property line. In fact, it's like over our property line. So we were wondering if they're planning to adjust the fence to conform to the property line.
That feels like a good question.
Yeah, great. Sorry to hear that. We weren't aware of that.
It's on your map.
Okay. It's just something that didn't come up to our attention.
It's an existing fence.
Correct.
Right.
Yep, so it's not something that's being added on.
No, but it's, as you can see,
Oh, this triangle down here, yeah,
yeah, we're over here.
okay.
And our property goes way out here also.
Mm-hmm.
So there's several places where it's,
Okay.
you know,
Great, we'll bring that up with the owners, yeah.
Thank you.
Sure, yeah,
Okay.
thanks.
Thank you. Next, sir, and then the gentleman in the white shirt.
And Steve Sherman, 11 Dry Pond Road. I'm just curious if you have an idea of approximately how long the construction, the demolition and construction will take? And also if Mr. Gaynor has an idea of how the maintenance on the road will cover the truck in and out usage. Thank you.
Sure. We anticipate a 16-month total process between demolition and the new construction. Of course, weather, things like that, but, that's our goal, yeah. There will always be, some downtimes, but we'll try to keep it contiguous so that it's, it's as tight and, finished as soon as possible.
Okay. Sir in the white? Anyone else after that? Okay.
Hi, my name is Steven Rodriguez. We're at 216 Jaycox, so we just border the property. Dovetailing off of the question about blasting, you said it was a fossil-free home. Is there going to be any drilling for like geothermal or any further deeper drilling besides the septic excavation?
No, we did consider a geothermal well, but no, we're not going to go ahead with that. There's the existing domestic water well that we need to extend the well casing and do some work on, but there's no anticipated new well work.
Okay, any other members of the public wish to speak? Okay, I think we can close the public hearing then, but we're happy to take questions from the board members after that. We have a motion to close the public hearing? Thank you, Peter. Second? Thank you, Laura. Any comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Public hearing is now closed. Board members, questions for the applicant's advisors on the matter? Heidi, please.
The 9 trees that you're taking out, are they the ones that we saw at the site visit?
Yes.
Other questions?
Just
Peter?
to follow that gentleman's question back there, do you consider the construction vehicles that would be coming back and forth, Jaycox being a small dirt road, can be pretty well beat up by big trucks and so forth. Do you anticipate any issue there?
We are intending to do most of the traffic in off of Route 9 so that it minimizes the amount of impact on Jaycox rather than the 301 side. And also, we have been planning on managing the erosion at the turnoff off of Jaycox because there's a hard dip there, and we want to make sure that we're not creating hardships for the neighbors as well as for ourselves, and making sure that that's addressed. Absolutely, we'll be monitoring all of that.
So you've been thinking about it?
Yep.
Okay.
Other board members' questions? Hearing none, I'll bring the two matters raised by the public to Ron and, for that matter, Dominic. A, the fencing issue, can that be a matter of requirement, given that this seems, if it's true, we obviously don't know, but if it's true that this fence is on the neighbor's property inappropriately, can that be a requirement?
I wasn't clear. Is this an existing fence? Yes. This is an existing fence, and so.
Dominic, could you talk into the microphone?
Sure.
Thank you.
If it's an existing fence, it should be confirmed, and if it is over the property, I assume that the applicant's willing to move it or remove it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just something that has not been called to our attention, and I'm sure they're not aware of it either. I'm sure they'll be willing to move that with no problem.
My suggestion would be that confirmation and also any remedial action for that would be a condition of any approval that the board may wish to grant.
Just a quick question about that. Just looking at the site survey, there's a stone wall that kind of passes the property line, and the existing fence is built around that. There's obviously an area here that it would be easier to scoot the fence in to make sure it's not in the neighbor's property, but around the stone wall, it might just be trickier unless we go kind of over top
I don't think
it.
anyone's asking to remove historic stone walls. I think what we're saying is, and no one in this dais has any proof of what's been raised except the woman saying this. So if you can go, please, make sure that you're.
Absolutely.
we're not asking you to take out stone walls.
No, it's some deer fencing, we'll make sure
Yeah,
that it's
just
corrected.
do it. I think her request is very reasonable, so if you please look into it. And Ron will add as a condition of the permit.
And my suggestion would be to coordinate through, not to give work to Ron first shot out of the box, but, my suggestion would be that, any information on this would be coordinated through your office.
Sure.
As to, whether or not it is over the line and whatever is going to be done about it as a result.
Okay, and then the driveway question. Ron, do you have any reaction to that?
Yeah, it's very typical on private roads that the board, as a condition of approval, requires a roadway maintenance agreement. That would be a typical requirement for this. In terms of any construction issues, typically what's done is there's a pre-construction meeting held with the representatives of the applicant, the contractor, and representative town officials. And we'll document the condition prior to construction, and we'll again inspect it throughout the course of construction. If there's issues, they'll be identified, and the applicant will be required to address them.
All right. Any other questions or comments from the board? Are we comfortable, as just a show of hands, are we comfortable with moving forward with the ask Ron to prepare resolutions for the next meeting with those two provisos? All good? Okay, can I have a motion then to direct Ron to prepare resolutions for the next meeting, please? Thank you, Heidi, second. Thank you, Joe. Discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Ron, you have your charge, and if those two issues that we raised would be addressed to the representative, we'd appreciate that.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
Terrific.
Thanks. Good night.
Thank you.
Okay. Everyone's favorite non-building issue in front of the board, the water feature. Ron, remind us where we are on said water feature.
Yeah, the applicants are proposing a twin ponds in the rear of their property. It's an identified area of regulated steep slopes. To permit that construction, the board has to grant a special permit to the applicant. The board has conducted two separate inspections, both of the intended location as well as alternative condition that's not in regulated slopes. They've been before the Conservation Board as well. There's been a lot of discussion. All administration obligations of the board have previously been addressed. So it's now a matter of just understanding whether the board is now comfortable to move this to resolution. Most recently, the Conservation Board has signed off and has accepted the location of the ponds in the regulated steep slopes. So I think it's now for the board to determine whether you likewise are prepared to grant an approval for the project.
And this is to grant approval for the as-requested location.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. Board, Margaret, I don't know if we need any input from you at this moment. I'm just gonna ask the board if they have anyone wants to talk about it some more. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I would just note that the Conservation Board wrote to us that they don't have any more concerns about the original location. I
Right.
don't think I'm I mean, I think that they basically cleared it.
Yeah.
That's what Ron said.
That's what
Yeah,
Ron
so-
said.
Yes.
Yeah, so I used to have some concerns because I wasn't sure if we had fully heard, but,
So if you remember last time, they actually did not get my memo before they wrote the last memo.
okay, got it. Mhm.
Okay, so your comment is that you agree with the Conservation Board?
Yeah, I guess I didn't entirely hear what Ron was saying.
Ron-
Sorry
Ron
if
said
I'm
the
repeating.
Conservation Board
Okay, so.
said we're
I'm just
okay.
duplicating what you said.
Okay, so anyone else, any comments on this matter? Okay, hearing none. Can I have a motion to direct Ron to prepare resolutions for the next meeting, please, for this project?
I'll make them.
Thank you, Laura. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Peter. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. Margaret, congratulations. We'll see you next month.
2026 is starting off real good.
Well, koi ponds, we're a big fan of. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next we have Griesshammer and Sokol. I do want to apologize to any members of the public that were waiting with bated breath to attend the site visit last Sunday. I myself had come back from the Knicks game late and woke up late and did not realize the snow was yet again mounting, and so I apologize for canceling it last minute. I should have done that the night before. I thought the snow had abated, but I was wrong, proving yet again that I am not skilled at weather mapping and such. So I think our first order of business is to reschedule the site visit.
Yep.
Okay, so Cheryl, your magic calendar, please.
Okay. Is it okay? There's going to be a lot of snow on the ground?
Well, I don't know what to do other than I think it is, what?
Can I just ask that we skip the site visit? I want to ask that
You
we.
want to join the board?
I want to ask that
Absolutely.
I want to ask that we just skip the public hearing.
I don't want to skip the site visit.
So,
Well, Jason, I appreciate that. I did not ask for your opinion on this one.
I
and
know,
I'm
but I
glad you
just
want-
have to, I feel like I
Well,
have to say something because.
you don't actually
neither
have to
one- Neither
what?
one is required.
Uh-huh.
This is a planning board approved subdivision lot.
Right.
I mean, I just.
I feel like we had this debate last time, did we not? I mean,
Oh, we always do.
well, we don't. You decided you wanted to give us, and I remember if we can go back to the videotape, there's a long, drawn-out debate, and I had to ask you to like, what's the... Right, but you're initiating
All
it.
right, I'm sorry.
Maybe I'm mishearing this, but I think you're initiating. So this board wanted a site visit. It is not our fault that Mother Nature dumped a foot of snow on the site. This board typically goes and sees sites. That's what we do. I promise you, if you were on this board, you would also say, probably be a good idea just to see the thing. And so that's what we're gonna do. Now, if again, to Cheryl's point, we find that for the second month in a row we can't go, then we're not impractical human beings. We will figure out an accommodation. I try to balance property rights and community rights, and I think I have a good record with that. So we're gonna go try and see it again, unless my board members don't wanna do a site visit. We have a pseudo-democracy up here, so we're gonna vote on that.
You want the dates?
Yes, can we have some dates, please?
February 1st or the 8th?
The 8th is better for me. I don't know
Or
if
the
I'll be...
15th?
8th, folks?
2-8?
2/8.
I can't make either, but.
Okay.
Whoop.
You cannot make it? Can you make it? 1?
I can.
Maybe not?
2:15, maybe? Still before
2:15?
the next meeting.
So it'll be 2 of us.
Can anyone make the 15th? Yes?
Yes.
Yes, yes. That's no? Soccer?
Soccer,
This
sorry.
son of yours has got some real skill, obviously.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, all right.
Oh, good.
All right, well, we're gonna take this February
Do you
15th.
want to also have an alternate date in the?
That's
in
so
the
smart.
notice?
You're so
I
good.
just asked if it was okay.
Dominic is adding value day one, and I love it. I just love it. So would it be the next weekend, or is it the next day, or the date? What do you do?
Well, unless you want.
We've
to move
never
it
met on a Saturday. Should we try it on Saturday, the 14th? I
with
mean, I
the-
don't care. Oh, shit. Fuck. Oops, sorry. My God.
Or the-
Sorry.
the 15th.
Sorry, my God. I have this very casual shirt on tonight. I got very casual. I'm sorry. My apologies to all the young folks at home. Stay in school.
How about the 15th with the 22nd as the?
Fine.
Because
I'm
it's
not.
still
I'm not
before the
around.
meeting.
I'm not here the 22nd. But that's if we have a quorum. No.
Okay.
So that's not. No one's available.
Okay.
Okay.
So-
Should we try, I'm gonna just try one more, let's back up, just since I opened the can of worms on the Saturday thing. What about the 7th, any chance? The morning of the 7th?
Okay.
You could do that? 1, 2? No? No. It's only, all right, that's not, we still have a quorum. All right, so that's the shot. We're doing it on the 15th or nothing. No alternative.
Sounds good.
If we can't do it because of weather, we will figure out something that'll be a reasonable accommodation. Okay. I don't think we should do a public hearing until we have the site visit, but I'm open to my colleagues' commentaries to the contrary.
I agree.
Yes? Okay, so we will then not schedule a public hearing at this point. Okay. That is it. Sorry.
That's all right.
How do you play poker often, sir?
No, never.
No, okay, because I would love to play poker with you. Oh. It is called, it's right across the street from the Gelber's house, that big fence.
Yeah.
It's on the other side.
So the lot 1 of this is currently
number 502.
Yeah, it's not Juniper Lane, it's Juniper.
No, it's south of it.
It's on the other
Yep,
side.
it's right across, it's really right across, it's just north of Garrison Lane.
Okay, across the street.
It's right across from Gelber, it's got the.
just said that.
Yeah, yeah.
David Gelber's house. I mean, not to be, not to mark it for any personal reasons, I would just, that's, okay. We hope to see, with a big fence, yes. And it's on the east side of the, or the north side of the street. No, east side of the street. East side of the street. Okay. Anything else on this?
Is there any input, anything I can, anything, does anybody?
Jason, as I used to say to your boss, or your former boss, I admire the advocacy, and if I owned if I had a property you were working on, I would be thrilled to have your representation.
I'd like to be able to do something. You know,
Well,
I'd like to stay active.
chop some wood, plow some driveways, but on this one, I have nothing to give you
Okay.
except see you on the 15th.
Put some flags up at the end.
And
It's
put
all,
some-
yeah, it's okay.
Okay, Mazel.
Very good.
Thank you very much, Jason.
Excuse me,
Okay.
just one
Sir,
aside
Ron.
before we leave the subject. There's a good chance I may not be available on the 15th,
Oh, my
but,
God.
no, but if so, I'll perform an inspection with the design engineer earlier than that. You'll see my notes before you guys accomplish your visit.
Wonderful, excellent. Okay, now on to our final piece of old business, and I'm excited to hear that the Vastas are back. I saw you all, and I'm like, I feel like I know these people, but I can't remember from when, and now I do. So I think we have good news, do we? So please, maybe before you speak, ma'am, why don't we just have Ron give us an update on what's going on from the town perspective, please?
Okay. The project lies alongside Cliffside Court on a private road. Access is from Upland Drive. In 2021, the town board adopted new regulations that affect this property. Specifically, what it's called is the Upland Drive Development District. This entire area, both here and along Ridge Road, on the other side of Sprout Brook, are the subject of very constrained property with steep slopes. So the board felt it necessary to adopt new regulations to be more stringent in permitting development in these areas. This is a vacant lot. I think there's probably 9 or 10 lots along Cliffside. There might be 3 or 4 lots that are developed, most are not. So the applicant has been attempting to address all issues that came out of these new regulations that are applicable to the property. They've been pursuing various outside boards, both the ZBA and the Conservation Board are involved in this as well. The Planning Board very early on performed a site visit. I think the Conservation Board did as well. The Zoning Board of Appeals granted 2 variances that were necessary from these new regulations. However, there's a third, there's relief from a third regulation that pertains to the lot coverage pertaining to the building and access. That has not yet been addressed by the ZBA. It's been identified, but I don't believe it's ever come back before the ZBA for them to consider. Conservation Board has still got issues concerning the disturbance of the steep slopes. Most of the property is involved in regulated slopes. So the board has been awaiting resolution on those outside agencies. The middle of last year, it was identified that there's various violations that existed on the property in terms of the applicant's representatives importing materials that were unauthorized by this board. So the board suspended any activity on the application, directed them to resolve all violations with the town code enforcement officer, and ever since then, they've been attempting to do that. I think very recently, you've just seen a memorandum from the town CEO, from Greg Warner's office, and he's now identified that there's no further violations that are open, so that the project can again come before you and start moving through the process. The Vastas on that basis wanted to appear before you just to let you know they're still attempting to prosecute the application, and which to provide the board an update on where they are.
So before I turn it over to you, Ms. Vasta, I just want to, Ron, where then is the application? What is the stage in front of this board at this moment? Like, what is the action for us at this time? We've done site visits. can't remember if we had a public hearing.
No, you have not had a public hearing on this yet. You referred it to all the other boards to be sure that they would grant the necessary permits before you wanted to consider any action on your part.
Which makes sense.
But the issue relates to all the regulated steep slopes and the need to obtain site plan approval from this board pursuant to the applicable regulations to the property. The board has been out there, as I've indicated. Property is very steep throughout the entire lot. And so it's a matter for you to be satisfied that the development is appropriate, all necessary mitigation is being offered, and you have been very interested to know where the ZBA and the Conservation Board would stand on this matter.
And we haven't heard from either yet.
The ZBA has granted 2 variances that they needed. There's still a third that they have not moved on. Conservation Board has continued to raise concerns about the project. It's a very steeply sloped property.
Okay. All right, well, Ms. Vasta, why don't you go ahead and say whatever has not been said, if you'd like to.
I was just going to say, no, we're here to present the no violations letter, and then, yeah, this has been reviewed over several years. I think I got engaged, married, and now a baby on the way.
Right.
So,
You may need a
I
third
just,
bedroom at some point.
oh, well, let's get the building permit first. So I'm just here, yeah, we're still, seeking a building permit. I thought the last ZBA meeting, they did talk about the lot coverage, but I'll double check that. I thought they confirmed that was, yeah, we were granted that. But we can, yeah, they did. They agreed.
Executive session came out.
Yeah, they did.
Granted you. This, what, not a square foot coverage?
Yeah, they
I'm
did.
pretty sure they
I have
grant
that.
but, don't hold it.
Well, I guess from the board side, they just need to have written confirmation that an action was taken. If there's
yep.
correspondence that can be provided, or the resolution of approval, then that matter will be resolved.
Yeah, that's approved. I have that document, so I can send that.
Okay.
And yep, we're here to see kind of what goes next, and we're thank you for all these years of you guys helping us through that.
So what is appropriate then, whether Ron and/or Dominic, for us at this moment? Is there an action for us to take? Is it appropriate for us to schedule a public hearing to hear the voice of the public? We've received, obviously, letters of different forms over the years, but they've been done, some cases anonymously. I don't think we've had fair and consistent public input on this. Is it appropriate at this point to do that, or is it premature?
I guess my wonder is, and possibly the applicant can address it, is where do you stand with the Conservation Board?
Yeah, I'm not sure, actually. We haven't heard from the Conservation Board. My husband's here. I don't think, if you want to talk, because I haven't heard anything from them since the last time we spoke.
Yeah, from the planning board side, the matter hasn't even been heard for 6 to 9 months, so some update on that side would be appropriate.
Right, yeah, I agree with you. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, they were with the first site visit. We weren't unable to do it, but we handed them the tree plan and the removal of trees. It's only 10% of trees that we're removing, about 30 trees out of 300 on the lot. That was, I think, the only concern the Conservation Board had, was the amount of trees that were going to be removed.
Okay, but it's a matter of just, again, for the board to understand from Conservation where they are in the process of reviewing this. And it's been a long time since we've seen anything.
Well, Ron, instead of asking them to tell us what our fellow board is, could you please reach out to the
No, absolutely, we'll make the contact.
The onus, I don't think we should put on you to tell us what one of our fellow boards is saying, as much as, if we can, Cheryl is the secretary of that board as well, maybe just, let's get a message to Andy and get an update from him and/or Max. We'll get a status. So do you think it's, my guess is it's then premature to schedule a public hearing? Any opinion on that, Dominic?
I mean, you could handle that one several different ways. I mean, you could hold off on scheduling the public hearing until having confirmation that the Conservation Board's concerns have been addressed, or you could potentially either schedule the public hearing looking to hear from the Conservation Board in the interim, or you could also, the old saying was like an attorney has multiple opinions. So, but you could conditionally schedule a public hearing, assuming that there's confirmation that the Conservation Board's concerns have been addressed.
All right, sentiment of the board?
Can I ask
Peter.
just a question? Do we ever get any documentation from the ZBA as to a rationale as to why they decided to do say a yay or a nay on a very steeply sloped? I mean, do we ever hear from them, or is that something we don't get involved in?
We can certainly ask them.
Yeah, I honestly don't recall. Typically, this board receives a copy of any resolution passed to grant the variance. So I don't know if that's in the file or not. I think
Would it change your mind based on why?
No, I'm just curious as to why they would decide, well, let's do it on this one, but not do it on that one.
Please.
Sure.
So the steep slope's only on the driveway and the right corner of the house. So we're not really building on top of the steep slope, we're building into the slope. So it's gonna be an exposed foundation in the front of the house.
Yeah, the way it's been presented is that you're essentially building on the side of a cliff, you know, so, I mean, so it's,
Yeah, so, and
the
we
site
have,
visit was, what, 3 years ago or something like that, 2.5 years ago? So I don't even remember this one.
yeah, but, yeah, and then we have, it plateaus at the back of the.
It's a small portion of the property that we're
That's
talking about.
actually being affected by the steep slopes.
Bob, do you want to say something, please? Go ahead.
Well, I had some questions. I read through the minutes of the zoning board on both matters, and there's some questions in my mind as to what exactly they decided. I know when it was referred to them by the planning board, the issue was a variance for proposed driveway construction within slopes greater than 35%. And as I read the minutes and the statement of the chairman of the zoning board at the time, that's what they were considering, is the portions of the driveway that exceeded 35%. But the statute says 30%. Anything exceeding 30% is a matter for determination by the zoning board. So that was one question I had, is what percent grade were they granting relief from, and what percent grade weren't they granting relief from? The other question is, and it went back and forth in the minutes. I honestly can't understand what they ultimately decided, but there was a question about whether or not the driveway slope would be graded from, let's say, 30 or 35% down to 14%, or whether it would stay at some higher percentage above 14%. So could you know, so I have a question about what that ultimate resolution was, what we're talking about here as the final grade of the driveway in development. And because I know there was some discussion about a 10-foot cut into the side of the hill there. So, those were my questions primarily with this. And there was some minimal discussion about stormwater. I thought there should have been a lot more discussion about stormwater at the meeting, but there was some discussion about you were doing some work to some drainage, collapsed drainage structures there. But that, in my mind, is the most serious, one of the most serious issues there, and what the effect of stormwater running down a 350-foot driveway, getting to the bottom of the hill and Cliffside Drive would be. So there was some question in my mind as to how that was handled by the zoning board.
Yes, so we submitted the culverts at the end of the driveway for drainage that we proposed to put in. And then I believe it was about 10 feet or 15 feet, if I'm not mistaken, of driveway that's affected, but we got it redesigned to be within the 14 degrees, but it's in a slope area. So we were just getting relief on the slope, working on steep slope. So we're gonna dig in on that area a bit.
Right, so, all right, well, so just on that issue, the ultimate grade of the driveway will be 14% and no more.
Yeah.
what about these cuts that, was there, I know there was discussion about the amount of material coming out of these cuts and so forth, but is that right? There's going to be like a 10-foot cut? You're going to have to be a 10-foot drop down, cut for the driveway?
I would have to look at the plans, I'm not really sure on.
What about, and there's some discussion about whether the variance applied to just certain sections of the driveway or whether it applied to the whole driveway. That was another question I had about what they decided before the zoning board. You know, back and forth, again, it was very confusing. I'll confess that I don't fully understand it, but, you know, they questioned, well, are we, you know, and they even put this in the minute, they were discussing whether or not the variance applied to only those certain sections of the driveway or to the whole driveway. You know.
Cheryl, I think it may be appropriate if you could take, or maybe Bob could type them, or you can take from the recording Bob's questions, and we can submit a set of questions to the Zoning Board of Appeals for clarity about these answers. Because I think if there's enough confusion, and Bob, we appreciate your close reading of the topic, it's possible the applicant themselves may not know exactly what was approved. So I think that wouldn't be a bad step to do. Are you going to represent the ZBA too, Dominic?
No, that's my partner, Adam Rod.
Adam is, okay. Well, maybe you two can also kibitz in the hallways of Drake Loeb as well to get us. So I think a little precision on Bob's questions may be a useful step. Let me come back, though. I mean, sort of, any other questions? Laura, please.
So, but I think what Bob is also mentioning is that if the applicant has made adjustments to the design, we have not seen any of those.
Yeah.
So, like, at what point are we seeing all of the changes to the original submission?
Yeah, fair.
Like, when is that?
Do you
is
have
what
new,
I'm asking.
well, I think that we would have to have those as with the public before we have a public hearing.
Right.
Do you have a
Yeah,
change?
Those were submitted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those have been submitted.
Those have been submitted?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
well,
haven't made any
We haven't,
recent
since we
changes,
submitted
like
to you guys, we haven't made
recent
recent
changes.
changes.
There hasn't recent
So nothing you haven't seen.
Yeah, it's all,
So then now then, what we're saying is that then the ZBA is then making their
Approve it.
determination based upon the original submission.
for whatever, I don't know,
whatever
the
the reason
original.
was, we made no changes since the ZBA granted us those variances.
Okay, I'm still slightly confused.
What I heard was whatever they submitted to the ZBA said yes to.
Correct, and I guess what I'm saying is whatever you submitted to the ZBA, we have not
Have
seen.
we seen those?
You've seen them, yeah, there haven't been that many submissions, so whatever has come through, you guys have gotten. I can resend it to you.
Yeah.
Okay,
If you don't mind.
You know, possibly to move this along, let's just have the board issue correspondence to both approval boards,
ZBA and
Conservation and ZBA, confirm what they've looked at, what they've acted on. And I think someone has been asking about the basis for making those decisions. We can also raise Bob's concerns about, I don't think the plans currently address stormwater. They have conveyance systems, but there's no issue of mitigating the increase in runoff for the developed portions of the site. So that's a matter that is going to come before this board. And so-
Okay, Dominic, do you feel, your predecessor was very focused on me taking a vote on even something like that topic. What's your view on a vote necessary to direct management to send a correspondence?
You could probably tell from my longer hair, I'm a little bit more laid back.
Yes.
You know,
And the guitar hanging in your
you know,
background.
yeah, that's right. But if you're comfortable taking a vote, I certainly wouldn't object to it.
All right, may I have a vote then from my or may I have a motion from one of my colleagues to direct, I guess we'll ask Ron to provide a memo to both the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Conservation Board to A, understand the status, B, for the Zoning Board of Appeals to understand the basis of their decisions. We will use some of Bob's questions. May I have a motion to that effect, please?
I'll make that
Thank you, Peter. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Laura. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstention, motion passes. Thank you, Ron, for that work in advance. And I think I think the sentiment is not a public hearing at this point. So I think that's the sentiment of the board. Thank you all. We'll see the results of those things, and we'll talk about this again next month. And maybe at that,
Anything I should do now until then?
well, unless Cheryl does not, if Cheryl does, you,
Yeah, I'll check, but I have whatever they sent.
I just want to get a head start.
We understand, we appreciate that, and we're trying very hard to balance, as I like to say, your property rights with community rights, and so, thank you very much. Okay. All right, any new business for the board? I'm going to raise one minor topic with council's close observation of how I'm off-piste at all. There's been a growing truck depot at the intersection of Route 9 and Snake Hill Road. I've mentioned this to our code enforcement officer, and he is appropriately looking into that matter. I raised this as a community issue, or as a topic, not because I believe that specific topic needs airing, but that I do believe, and this is similar to my role in the MTA, every MTA board member gets a Metro card and whatever, because each board member can serve as eyes and ears at appropriate moments for the MTA, and whether we are Long Island-based people or Manhattan-based people or Westchester or whatever. And so, similarly, I'd like to raise the possibility that each of us provide, without, not hawk-like, but at least human-like eye observations of what's going on. And if you see something you think is worthy of maybe Greg just taking a gander at, that I am giving you all, I'm hoping we can all give each other permission to pay attention to those things. If it's not members of the planning board, I suspect there are very few other people in this community that feel an obligation to play that informal role. So I'm not asking for a line item in the agenda, but I do think it may be worthy. I don't know if Dominic, you have a comment on that.
Well, I mean, first of all, the reason that, assumingly, that you're all picked for the board is because you're members of the community and you know and care about your community. But on top of that, you have the perspective of being on the planning board and knowing about various different code requirements and concerns that can exist where members of the general public may not know the specifics of zoning and what can and can't occur on various different properties. So you're uniquely situated to be in that kind of position. And you don't give up the rights of being concerned citizens and being able to comment on these things just because of your function as planning board members. So I think it's entirely appropriate within what you're suggesting. The only limitation that I would suggest is that the board itself doesn't have enforcement powers.
Right.
So that is within the function of the code enforcement officer, who also has enforcement discretion and has the ability to decide how and when to take enforcement action, or if something is an enforceable matter. So, but bringing things to his attention from your perspective, I think, is not only entirely appropriate, but it helps strengthen your community.
So I'm not mandating anything, I'm just suggesting you have I think it's not a bad thing to do.
I think it's a great thing to do. And I agree with you with Snake Hill. I think there's a problem, with brewing.
Does anyone know we're gonna turn that light on and stay?
Oh, we can raise that to the,
2 months already.
good DOT question. Maybe would someone like to make a referral to DOT? It's clearly part of Shakespeare's application. Ron, is that something you could find out for us?
I'll attempt to.
Thank you.
I don't know that we'll hear, but I'll try. Then I'll call the permit engineer.
Thank you, Ron.
Right.
All right, any other new business? Sir?
Just to go
Yeah.
further your point, what would be the next step?
I think just if you see something, send a note to, either you want to raise it here, fine, if you want, or you can send an email to Greg Warner that you've observed something. And if you feel like the rest of us should know about it, feel free to put us on it. It's not inappropriate at all.
Well, I would then like to add something.
Yes, ma'am.
There was a meeting, I think it's been a year, where I believe we are supposed to have no parking signs on Route 9 across the street from Vera's and that restaurant deli. There are no parking signs.
Well, that's in the state hands. We passed a resolution. gave it to the state, and we're up to nursery then, whenever they came to. Yeah, that's that. And right in front of B&L and across from Short Street, right on Short Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while, but it's not the, like we said, it's.
Okay, but that's with,
Mercy in the hands of the state.
that's the state. Okay.
It's their road.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we did pass the resolution.
yeah, understood.
Good. Anything else? Any other comments or new business? Hearing none, before I ask for a motion to adjourn, I think, Dominic, you have proved yourself to be a very talented and able attorney. We're thrilled to have you on board, and thank you for taking on this assignment. We moved this meeting to the fourth Thursday for you, and I think it was a good decision.
Thank you very much. Based on that commentary, I should resign and retire right now.
As they say, this is a mic drop moment for you.
I should go out on a high.
Absolutely. All right, may I have a motion to adjourn, please? Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Laura. Have a good night. Take care, folks.
I can only go down.